Welcome back. Episode 92 of The Grouch and the Brainstorm. And I'm Mike, and I'm here with Jill.
Hey, guys.
And Matt.
Hello.
And it is good to see you guys. It is good to see
I'm glad y'all got to see me again.
Yeah, I'm you know what, man? I was all the way over here. I was just like, I cannot wait to see Matt.
Seeing, I knew that, Mike. I knew.
And I pulled up in the drive, and I saw you sitting in the car with Jill waiting on me. And
yeah.
You know, I got butterflies.
Yeah,
or maybe it was
and then you started vomiting. I don't know what happened.
Could have been the Taco Bell. I don't know.
Could have been.
No, I'm just kidding. I don't eat Taco Bell. Before we go any further, I have a couple of announcements to make. How about that?
Come on.
Okay.
Come on.
That's my announcement music.
Okay.
Yeah,
Got you.
The day this show airs, the 15th of December, our boy Larry L will have his lucky number 13.
Come on.
Yep.
That's wonderful.
Yep. So it might be not, you know, we don't give him somebody credit for stuff they ain't got, but if he makes it to the day this show airs, then he'll have 13.
I got my fingers crossed for him.
Well,
you know?
and I can go in and edit it out, but you know, I've got pretty good inside info that old Larry's going to pull it off.
I feel like he can. Yeah.
And the second announcement is, do I need to play the music? No. The second announcement is we are on YouTube.
Yeah.
We are now on YouTube, and
Nice.
yes, my daughter finally figured out how to get us on YouTube, and I don't even know how to get the administration page or any of that. So we are now on YouTube. So two big things happening. YouTube channel, Larry L getting his birthday. So, and that is, to me, Larry L right behind me. You know, I got sober and just happened to run into his now wife. Back then they were dating, and she mentioned that she had a significant other in the program, and I mentioned I was in the program, and here we are all these years later and still, you know, doing the deal, which is pretty cool.
I talked to them today, as a matter of fact, and Judy and Larry both just sweetest people ever.
Oh,
and,
great people.
Yeah, and she texted me checking on Lacey and wanted to know what was going on, and just very thoughtful, you know, and just some of my favorite people.
Yeah,
so.
Absolutely. So I'm really, really excited for him, and you know, I know he's probably his humility is not going to allow him to be excited, but we can be excited for him. Definitely proud of him. So, Matt, what have you been up to since the last time we had a time to catch up?
Let's see. I haven't been in jail. That's good. Got that. Managed to steer clear. You know, man, just wrapping up our year of work and kind of getting this podcast thing. We're growing this and working on it. Got some new things coming out we're excited about, and that's been that. We finished up Thanksgiving and rolling on to Christmas, and there's about to be an assault put on some fish that y'all have never seen because I'm finally done cutting grass pretty much for the year. It's time to begin my second career.
My backyard's open.
Yeah, Jill put me on a spot here in her yard, and we hammered them the other day. So we added another one to the.
So Jill has fish in her yard.
Well, in some water in her yard. There's a big spot back there. But yeah, you know, that's one thing about living in Louisiana. You know, we can fish all year round. If you can stay in the cold a little bit, you can catch them. So,
well, I'm kind of with the, you know, you remember, you might not, you might be too young, but back in about 89, 90, Mark Chestnut came out with a song, Too Cold at Home.
Love it.
And in this song, he says it's too hot to fish and too hot to golf. And for me, there's a time of year where it's too hot to fish, too hot to golf. And then there's a time of year where it's too cold to fish and too cold to golf. And
I was looking through some old pictures this morning, and I have some pictures of my sponsor and I, Bobby, that we fished together. And it was in February about 3 years ago. And he's got on earmuffs and everything holding the bass up.
Yeah.
And I mean, big coats. If you can stand it and you're patient, and you know, that's the thing. It ain't about the fish, man. It's just a shift in life. It's move a muscle, change a thought. That's what that.
And people ice fish, you know,
sure.
up north, they ice fish.
I'm not getting that daggum carried away with it. I don't know that I
would like to try it.
You know,
you got to get an auger.
Yeah, yeah.
I just like saying auger.
What the hell is that?
It's an auger.
You drill holes in ice.
Yeah,
Drill-
Oh, that's what that is, the drill?
Yeah.
You
Oh,
take it out
okay.
there and drill a hole. And I was in Minnesota one time and I drove over this long bridge. And it was in January, and I looked out to the left and you see all these little huts out there, and I didn't have a clue what they was. And believe it or not, my son, he was probably 17, 18 at the time. He's young. He said, "Those are ice fishing huts, Dad." And I was like, "Wow, I didn't realize those were ice fishing huts, you know." And sure enough, that is exactly
Some
what
of them are pretty nice. I've seen them on YouTube, and they'll put heaters and all that stuff.
Okay. Well,
yeah.
that's bucket list worthy.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you, even though I don't like to be cold. A couple things in happened recently with me. Thanksgiving Day, I got up and I had to take care of some stuff around the house and put air in the tires and hang a couple shelves in my garage. And I just had some personal stuff to do because I didn't have to go to work that day. And I wasn't driving all the way back over here. So I jumped on the Harley. And it was, man, I probably got 3 miles into it and realized no matter how bundled up I am, this is a mistake, right? This is just an absolute mistake. And I went ahead and rode down, I don't know, maybe 8 miles down and 8 miles back up down Highway 35 headed north in the Fort Worth area. And I parked that bike and I said, probably not anymore for a while until the temperature gets up in the ups, at least 70 degrees.
Yeah, yeah.
And then we had our company Christmas get together outing is what we call it. And we went to Top Golf, a place where you don't know if y'all ever been. We don't have one around here.
It's being built.
Oh, is it?
Yes, it is.
Good for y'all. But it was so cold, I didn't hit the first ball. I kind of just sat there in my chair and played on my phone. I didn't want to eat. I didn't want to play golf. I didn't really even want to exchange gifts. I just wanted to sit there and shiver. It was so cold for me, because over in that neck of the woods, the wind blows all the time. And so if it might be 45, it feels 32. And it was just so cold. So, but Jill, before I forget, what have you been up to?
Well, unlike Mike, I've been in prison, every day. And
There's a remote interview with Jill from prison.
did I tell
right.
you, Mike?
That's right. Yes, you did.
I think a lot of people, the other time when we interviewed Danielle, she said she'd been talking to Mike, and that's the first time I talked to Danielle.
And hey, by the way, I'm just going to, because she's going to get a kick out of this, and I know y'all will too. So Lacey and I, are engaged, and she's had some health issues, right? So we go to the hospital the other night. I'm going to tell one on myself. We don't take ourselves too serious, but she's 10 years younger than me already, okay? And she looks younger than that, okay? I realize that I don't have the face of, I don't know.
Yeah, we're not going to comment on that.
Well, I mean,
You don't look old at all.
But I'm saying, so we go to the emergency
You don't
room.
look 25 like I do.
Oh,
man.
no.
Well,
Oh,
Mike,
no.
look, I'm trying, brother. I'm
That
doing all I can
Benjamin
do.
Button thing going on.
But they come in, the nurses and all come in, and they're telling us, "Hey, this is going on. This is going
They
on."
thought you were a dad.
Oh no! Oh no! Oh, hold on. The first nurse did. She said we spoke with the dad. So Lacey's dying laughing. I walked out of the room. I didn't want to hear anymore. But as we stayed there a week, we got a new nurse. She put Grandpa.
Wow.
Swear to you,
Wow.
Grandpa. And I told
no
Lacey, I said,
way.
and you know what? I thought about it, and I was like, I could be offended. But at the same time, if I look that old and I'm running around with a chick that looks like she's 30 years younger, I'll take that. So my ego, I pump myself up,
Got that whole Pierce Brosnan thing.
Yeah. So So
You don't even look that old.
man, but I guess to those
Someone thought
nurses,
so.
yes. So anyway,
I haven't got that yet. So
oh,
of course, I don't do that either. So, Jill,
Yeah, basically just, going to prison, working every day, and coming home and probably just spending a little bit too much time to myself.
yeah, that happens.
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
And
it's
well,
not
it gets
safe.
cold. It gets cold,
And
and it's been getting dark, and I get home, just when the sun is setting, and so I immediately run out, feed all the animals, and water or whatever they need, and I'm starving, and I eat, and then
Time to go to bed.
time to go to bed. Yeah, and yeah, I know it's not probably the most healthy thing in the world, It's a pass.
You know, if you know, and of course the listeners can't see this, but if they seen the view of what we have out here at the studio, the farm, as I call it, you know, this could be a place where someone could go and just, you know, hey, I'm going to chill out.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's everything here. You could, there's a view.
It's an area.
There's view.
And I'm about to have my fire pit.
Yes, the in-ground fire pit.
Yes, I'm really looking forward to that. I don't know if it'll be in ground because now my father has been like, I'm going to weld you this big fire pit. And he goes, and I want it to look like people are holding the pit up.
Kind of like on the cover of Van Halen's 1984 album. No, 5150.
With a was it the world? The globe or something
Lou
like that?
Ferrigno holds it.
Yeah, I don't know what he wants to do, but I was like, okay.
Well, show him the cover of that album. Say, this is what I want my fire pit to look like.
Well, he's going to get the welders, you know, out there to
Chris will come model for it. He'll hold up.
Mr. Olympia.
Yeah, he'll hold up.
Or I'll do it if he's not there, you know.
Or Matt, if you want a dad bod or
And you guys that listen,
father figure, however you look at it. But
Chris C that comes on here all the time. He's awesome. He's literally a bodybuilder. The guy's in fantastic shape. The whole deal. He and I do meetings at a rehab facility here together, and I love to sit up at. It's like a panel, and we sit at a table together. And I always like to tell the clients, I point at myself and I go before drugs, and then I point at Chris. I say after drugs. You know,
That's
because we
wrong.
kind of look that way. But,
and Chris is, of course, Chris is about 10 years younger than us as well.
Is he?
You know, yes, he is. But,
Okay.
you know, next week's episode, we have Lee, we interviewed from California. And Lee, the way, just listening to him, he's got a pretty good exercise regimen going on.
Yeah.
I would say
Yeah.
so.
And he's a little bit older than I am.
yeah.
You know, I mean,
Man, he's an animal, dude. He gets on there and posts his reps and all the things he does, and like I can barely get up to get the remote off the coffee table.
well, if I have to get up more than twice to go to the restroom in the middle of the night, I consider
yeah.
that exercise.
yeah, and you should, you know.
Well, you know, it works the legs and the back.
it's full body.
I get to go upstairs. That Stairmaster
Yeah, I mean,
every day.
Stairmaster.
look, I'm doing all I can do. Yeah, that's good to see those guys too getting healthy like that.
Well, guys, a couple things I want to talk about today, and we just don't want the holidays to slip by without saying something about the holidays and what folks are about to go through. And of course, this is post Thanksgiving, so we've already done a major holiday. And of course, here in Louisiana now, Mardi Gras is also a really big holiday, right? We have Thanksgiving, then we have Christmas, then we have New Year's, back to back to back, and then almost, you know, sometimes 6 weeks after New Year's, up to 8 weeks, we have Mardi Gras here in Louisiana. So it's a big deal, and a lot of our listeners out there probably don't understand. I'll put it to you like this: the mailman don't run on that day, and schools get out for a solid week during the actual Mardi Gras week. It's a really
Everything shuts down. It's wild.
And I, you know, until you live in that area, that region, when I was in New Orleans, I did not realize how big of a deal Mardi Gras was. But to me, the people I was working with right there, it was bigger than Christmas. Like, you know, Christmas was a big deal, but we got Mardi Gras. And we've got to have this, and we're going on this float, and we're part of this crew, and you hear all this language, you know. And unfortunately, Mardi Gras is also associated with a lot of partying, a lot of drinking, a lot of things going on. But I will tell you, I was a member of a really great home group down there in New Orleans area, not in New Orleans, but in the area. And every single one of them participated in Mardi Gras events and did it perfectly sober. You know, nobody came back talking about how they were tempted. You know, you obviously hear some of that, right? You know, especially from newcomers. And this is really a episode that goes out to that newcomer. I remember after I made it through my second Christmas, Thanksgiving, New Year's holiday season, thinking, man, I made it through 2 of them. Right. It started out with vacations. You know, I made it through my first vacation without drinking, you know, and I think my first 2 or 3 vacations, I didn't go anywhere. Like, I had to stay at home. I didn't go anywhere, do anything. And I remember thinking, but then it got to the holidays. I was like, I made it through Christmas. And one thing I did a lot of, right, I went to a lot of meetings. I went to meetings, you know, I have made it to where even now, on Christmas Day, I will be at the Koala Club all day long. Now, I get it. Some people can't do that. They got a family thing they do or whatever. And that's, of course, that's, absolutely. But with me, I would go to the club, and that would be how I spent Christmas, right? Is at the Koala Club. If I had someone I needed to see, parents or kids or grandkids, I would still go visit them, say hi, then I'd go straight to the Koala Club and hang out. In and out people all day. You run into some of your people that are really struggling on those days. Mm-hmm. Matt, how do you handle the holidays?
I did a lot like you said. I mean, early on, it was I went through that first year of sobriety, and I think I was probably well into my second year before I missed a meeting period. They talked about 90 and 90, and I did 365 and 365. Like, I had to, man. I was well into 18 months probably before I missed a meeting. Yeah, for some reason, there's twofold on that holiday deal too, Mike, because also now I like being there. It's not that I'm having a hard time, but other people are. And just being a warm body, and somebody comes in, and you're available, and just somebody there to listen or to, just to be there hanging out. Sometimes that's the best thing about this program, is just sitting down with people in chairs and chewing the fat. And it doesn't even necessarily have to be sobriety, but just what's going on with things. And that sometimes you never know what people are going through, but just to be there and listen and be still, and somebody able to feel heard is sometimes a good thing to do. And it does help me. But I do always try to go on a holiday if at all possible. And family life is what it is. But that's kind of sometimes I know a lot of us out there, that can be a break from that family craziness. Yeah, family chaos. It can give us a little break from that and a little reset.
And if there is family chaos, it gives you a great opportunity to practice the principles of Alcoholics Anonymous.
Serenity. Yeah. I mean, like everything.
Before you have to go to a meeting, or before you go to a meeting that day, and you say, hey, look, I'm sober now. I can be present for my family, but these people drive me crazy. It gives you a chance to say, hey, I get to practice the steps. I get some of that stuff I heard in the rooms about how if I get upset, maybe it's me. Maybe there's something wrong with me if I get upset. If if grandma or somebody says something that irks me, I get to use that to think about, do a little self-reflecting or a little inventory.
Exactly.
If I will.
And those Thanksgiving, you got me thinking about Thanksgiving. My first year, I was out of town at my ex-wife's family. First Thanksgiving, and I look on the app, on the AA meeting guide, and there was a meeting in that town at 10 o'clock that morning. We were going to eat probably, noon or 1 o'clock. I said, well, I'm going to just run to this meeting. I do. There's never been there. I'm out of town. 2 people show up, man and a lady. They're married. They're both over 30 years of sobriety. So it's 3 of us. That was the whole meeting. We sat down and just talked about sobriety and it was one of my favorite meetings still to this day. It was so, and I went back to the Thanksgiving with all the family and all the things going on. And it was just like, I needed that. It doesn't have to be 800 people there in this big firework display of a meeting. Man, that was so good. And it was what I needed then early on to kind of, just set me back on the right path and mentally to steer me right,
Yeah.
Jill, what do you do during the holidays?
I'm every holiday pretty much I'm with my family. I'm with my mother, my father, my niece, nephew, and my sister. We do all the holidays together, even though my parents are divorced. And I really like that. I think Christmas and all the holidays can be hit or miss for me. They've been definitely more good for me in recovery. A lot of self-pity before, and my addiction consumed me, and having to show up to Christmas and Thanksgiving was really hard for me. And now it's different. I still have to be careful because that was a huge part of why I used and why I drank, is being lonely and not having a husband, a partner, a family, and all that, and constantly having to sit in other people, even though it's my family, their family, and blah, 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 blah. And it doesn't affect me as much as it used to, but it still can. I love the holidays. I love that we have traditions now. And they're quite different from how I grew up, because we always went to my grandparents. But I say the night with my sister. Thanksgiving was awesome. The kids are out doing stuff because they're older now. And Ivy and I we order a pizza. We watch a Christmas movie together and just laugh. And we've been doing that for years.
What do you watch?
It's normally some really cheesy, like
Hallmark movie?
yes, or something on Netflix. They're all. I mean, we laugh at how stupid they are, and that's how we.
This fella here's living a Hallmark movie right now.
Yeah.
No, I'm living more like Christmas Vacation, bro.
Oh God,
Cousin Eddie in the house.
we do that, and we're going to do it Christmas. I have to be very, very careful. The end of the year. I think a lot of people you start to reflect on your year, and I think. Gosh, I mean, there's just so much that can happen in a year, so many things that don't happen within the year. You reflect on what happened, what you've been praying for, the good things, you reflect on the bad things, and, maybe like what you want to change in the next year. And there's a lot of that going on towards the end of the year. There's a lot of, family. It can be an overwhelming time for a lot of people that have lost loved ones.
Yeah.
And that don't have a family to spend Christmas with, or people out there that are single and that's all they've ever wanted is to have that. And to me, I mean, like, it's all about how spiritually fit I am and how well that I'm doing. Christmas is nice. I mean, normally every Christmas Eve, I go with my sister to her church, go to their Christmas presentation dealy thingy.
Yeah.
The kids come in, I stay the night, the kids open the presents, and then we eat and I'll go home. It's nice. And I'm very grateful, that I have a family I can do that with. And to me, it's everything.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
And you can be present and
Right. Because I can tell you what, I wasn't before. I mean, I would be there, but I would be sleeping.
yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean, just the
Sleeping in quotation marks.
Yeah, sleeping.
no, I'd
Oh, you just actually sleep.
well, yeah, I'd be hungover. I'd be
Yeah.
feeling
That's what,
pretty.
that's
That's
what we
what I
mean.
meant.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. The cousins would come in town. It was quite a riot. I mean, and I mentioned before, like there was always a hospital visit. Our Christmas partying was out of this world.
Yeah. So I used to always say about Thanksgiving, like we'd go to my grandma's, you knew it was over when the cops showed up.
Oh, well, it's just
Never a hospital ride.
we'd all go out clubbing downtown, and but we just don't do that now, and I like that, and I get to hang out with my niece and my nephew, who are my world.
Yeah.
I love those kids.
And how old are they?
Well, Pierce is 20 and Ava is 16, so I'm seeing less and less of them.
But here's the good news. I will tell you from experience. They go through that age where you see less and less, and then they get past that and you see more and more.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
they got that, all of them. Even my own children, you see them where they go off and they do their own thing, and it kills us to watch. But they eventually come back, and when they do, they're more mature. That's kind of like, who is this person in front of me? And you can have a full blown conversation with them about stuff you really don't want to talk about, and
Yeah.
it's pretty cool. For me, the holidays have always been. I've been in this business that I'm in for 36 years. I've been doing this for 36 years.
Long time.
And this is what our whole year, we kind of prepare for this. And so a lot of hours worked and long days into getting ready for just Christmas and Thanksgiving. So you hit Christmas and you kind of hit a brick wall. You've been moving at 200 miles an hour up all day, every day, losing days of sleep. Just sometimes going to the extremes of getting things done. When Christmas comes, it's just hey, I need to hang out at the club with some folks who haven't been going 90 miles an hour.
Right. And your days are how long during the holidays?
My average day is about 14 hours.
Yeah. I mean, it's a lot.
Yeah, my average, like today, had I not came over here to record, I got there about 7 a.m. and I left at 10:30 to come over here to record at 2. But normal, like tomorrow morning, how about that? It's a good Sunday. Normally would be a day off. I will go there at 7 in the morning. I'll leave at 10 tomorrow night, somewhere around 10 tomorrow night, after I've, completed a couple things that I have to do late to get ready for, the next few weeks of a lot of traffic and a lot of business. And
Oh, for sure.
so when all that's said and done, I like to, I do all my shopping now online and ordered all that stuff. And, I'll have the presents that I get the kids will already be with them. So I kind of get to wake up, run over, high five, and then come over here and go to the club and spend the rest of the day at the club. For me, that is just the one day I look forward to. I don't like the fact that after all my clubbing is done, you know, still got a 3.5 hour drive back. And then the day after Christmas is almost as important to us as the day before Christmas. So I got to be there at 6 o'clock in the morning and get, you know, start the new year for us. So,
Yeah.
But what about that person? This is their first year in recovery, and they're really worried about all of the Christmas parties and the New Year's Eve parties and the things that we have to give up. We do.
Yeah.
Well, I say that, I don't mean it like I said it. We have to give up the drinking part of that. And that was such a big deal. In the big book, it talks about, in A Vision for You, it talks about how alcohol, for most people, is a time of conversation and conviviality and loosening up. And for us, for me, who's a real live alcoholic talking on this microphone right now, that is not what alcohol is for me. And everybody I see, though, it is. And they have a cocktail at a cocktail party. I don't even know what a cocktail party is, but they'll have a cocktail and they might sip on it for 2 or 3 hours, right? And does that mean I don't go to that party because they have alcohol? What does that mean?
Just depends.
Yeah,
it really does depend. It was more stressful than I thought it would be. And I thought I went in with, my first holiday with, okay, I'm going to do this. Everybody's going to be there. And I realized pretty quickly my anxiety was shooting through the roof and I didn't have anything to say and I didn't want to talk and I felt very uncomfortable. So first thing I always suggest, have a way out. Yeah. Have a way out. I was blessed. I had a car and I was able to go back to my safe place, which was the halfway house. And, surround yourself with sober people. Go to the meeting before or afterwards. Set boundaries. I mean, there's so many things. Stay in touch with your sponsor. Let your family know, hey, I'm struggling. This may not, I need help.
Yeah. I think the thing with the Christmas parties, we put so much emphasis into it. What I experienced was getting sober, and I'm so used to being at parties and having drinks and doing all those sort of things that I'm like, oh, I'm the life of the party.
Exactly.
And then I get there and I'm like, maybe I'm not the life of the party. This is awkward.
Well,
and,
yes.
And then you go, how do I deal with this? Oh, there's a drink over there. That's the whole thought process. So like Jill said, my sponsor says it this way. Joe B says it this way. Put your car keys in your pocket at all times. Have an exit. Be ready.
Yes.
And you walk out the door. You don't have to say bye. I'm gonna hug everybody here. No, walk out the door. That's the most important thing in my life was I don't need to drink or use today, no matter what. And I get to spend a lot more Christmases now, and I can visit with folks that are having drinks, and it's not as big a deal. But that early on, it's a big damn deal. And,
huge, yeah.
And that's what I figured out. It's awkward. You're like, wait a minute. I'm not drinking.
So I'm saying I didn't know how to talk. I was socially inept. I was like,
The first Christmas party I went to sober, I thought this is going to be weird. Had an open bar, the whole deal. And I walk in and it was a company thing. And I walk in and it's awkward. And then on top of it, I didn't know anyone. I was invited by a relative. I show up.
That sounds horrible.
Talk about higher power. Here's how higher power works. I walk in and here comes this lady across the room, arms wide open, walks all the way across the room, 30 yards to me. How are you? My name's Pat. She gives me a big hug. Sweetest lady ever. And I'm like, hi, out of the blue, this lady appears. Come to find out her daughter is in recovery. She knew I was coming because she knew my family member. And she came across the room, introduces herself, breaks the ice of the whole deal. Her daughter's 20-something years clean off of heroin. I know her now, but I didn't know her then. I'm just like, who is this person coming over here? And she took it upon herself to walk up to me and do that. That broke that ice. But even that thing, I didn't stick around real long. And I did what I felt I was obligated to do. How you doing? And I hit the road. And I still do that. I'm at things that it doesn't feel right, or I don't feel right going. Sometimes I just don't go. I get up and go, man, I'm not where I need to be today. I can tell this isn't the day, you know?
And last time I went to a wedding, hung out, they got married and the reception was right afterwards. And I was just like, I don't want to sit around and watch everybody drink. Got to go. Bye.
It's like, hey, punt the football and we'll get the ball back later. We'll try it again later.
Yeah.
I'm going to punt. So,
well, if you want to see a really good example of what can happen if we're not spiritually fit, and most people have seen this movie, but if you're not paying attention, you don't see it because it's just a funny part of the movie. But there's a movie came out several years ago, early 2000s, I think, called Old School, and it stars Will Ferrell and Owen Wilson's brother. I don't remember his name. Luke Wilson, and the other guy that plays in a lot of shows with Luke Wilson. Yeah, y'all know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
What's his name? I feel bad.
I have no idea.
Yeah. Well, anyway, this movie's called Old School, and they have this party. Vince Vaughn, that's it. Man, how could I forget?
I was actually thinking that. Okay.
Well, they have this party, and what's his name? Will Ferrell. Will Ferrell had recently got married.
Frank the Tank.
And he had a previous persona named Frank the Tank. Mm-hmm. And he was not going to go there, right? He's like, I'm going to go to this party. I'm not going to drink. I'm not going to do anything. Okay. And like some kids come up and like, come on. And he finally succumbs to that. And next thing you know, he's running naked through the quad to the gymnasium.
Yeah.
And he goes from this guy who really wants to stay sober because he's newly married and he wants his marriage to work and he doesn't want Frank to show up, right? To this complete opposite character, Frank the Tank. And he's running, and that's a humorous way of looking at it. If I'm not spiritually fit and I go to something like that, I'm probably going to end up being Frank the Tank or, Mike the Maniac, because I can succumb to that pressure of, hey, look, just one will loosen up my nerves. Mm-hmm. One will get me to where I can talk to people. One, for me, a real alcoholic, is just that first little bit of gasoline on the fire that won't stop burning for months, if not years.
For sure.
And so that's, I kind of, my first couple years, none of this stuff, even company Christmas parties, because those guys love to give each other liquor as white elephant gifts. What am I going to do with a fifth tequila? Well, first off, I'm going to give it to somebody at the party.
Yeah.
Before I ever walk out, I'm just going to take it home and look at it.
Nope.
Yeah, boy, that's a mistake. Yeah. I don't even drink tequila, and I'm not taking it home and looking at it.
No.
And you will get to that point. I think if you go along in this and you actually work on your sobriety and you work towards your recovery and you do these things, and I've gotten to that. It doesn't bother me now for the most part. But every once in a while, something will bother me. I cut grass, man. When it's 100 degrees and I walk in the convenience store and they got them big fence post beers on ice, and I go, boy, them things, that'd be nice right now. But that's as far as it goes, and I just go get my Mountain Dew and I roll. I bounce. And
like a Mountain Dew guy.
Yeah, I am a Mountain Dew guy, hardcore Mountain Dew.
You like the draft or the bottle?
I'm usually a draft guy. I pour it on ice.
It's basically alcohol.
Yeah.
It's like illegal in other countries, like for real.
Yeah, it is. You can't drink Mountain Dew.
Yeah,
Mountain Dew in some countries. Look, they probably call it Mountain Dew.
We all got our cross to bear, But it took me so long to figure out who I was, and I think in early sobriety, we take that stuff away, and we're going, wait, what am I now? Am I the one hanging off the chandelier at the party? Yeah, I used to be, but I'm not anymore. I'm not that person. I'm not real sure what I am, and that was the awkward part for me. Was going, I kind of just want to hang out over here in the corner and not say nothing to anybody and
be the weirdo.
But you have all those folks that go, hey, party animal, we're waiting on you.
Yep.
Yeah, we got the tank ready.
Yeah, the tank's ready, man. Remember we did this and that.
Well, and so, this kind of makes me think about something that we talked about when we interviewed Danielle, right? because you go to one of these events, and I don't know if Jill, did you talk about going by yourself, or did you say maybe take a sober friend with you to a meeting? I mean, to one of these events, or did you mention that? Because I don't want to.
I don't recall even having any events. I mean, I just.
No, I meant earlier when you were talking, did you say, because you said about leaving and.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like
Christmas.
Anything, Christmas, or any uncomfortable situation in early recovery.
Well, if I'm sitting in a corner, right, and I'm sitting here thinking about how all these people get to drink and I don't get to drink, and, I sometimes feel like life has given me lemons, right? And our friend Danielle, when we interviewed her, talked about she had a lemon tree. Tattoo of a lemon tree.
That's cool.
And it reminds her that, life, she made lemonade. Now here we're in Louisiana, so we have gators and Gatorade, but same premise, when life gives you gators, you got to make Gatorade, or life gives you lemons. So it could be real easy to get to feeling like I can't, they can, right?
Yeah,
I think about nowadays, I didn't think about this obviously in early recovery, but I think about my grandson, and he's 6 years old, and he is a type 1 diabetic. He takes shots all day, every day. They have pizza parties at school, and he has to sit there and watch these other kids eat pizza. They have Halloween, and he has to watch all these other kids eat that candy, and he can't. That kind of puts it in perspective for me. I have the disease of alcoholism, and I can't. I just can't do it, or I die. I don't, some people would just get bad and they go to jail. But I personally, if I have alcohol, I'm not going to probably live through that. And that would be a feeling that, over time being in recovery, I've kind of like him. He gets used to it as he goes to different schools and learns and gets to know new people. He doesn't get to do that, and so I don't get to do that either. So if I need to just hang out with him, me and him could just hang out,
Yeah.
But at, my age, just hanging out with your grandson really is not that bad of a deal.
No.
So, but sometimes we do feel like life gives us lemons, and we have an opportunity, though, to take those and make lemonade out of them. I can tell you that I remember I would be going to these promises meetings every Wednesday at the Koala Club when I first got sober. I couldn't stand the promises meetings. First off, in order to understand the promises meetings, you had to be way sober, right? And I wasn't sober. None of this shit even appealed to me, though. Mike, if you stay sober, these promises are going to come true.
Sure, that's what I thought.
Well, first off, I'm not really too worried about that. I'm trying not to drink right now, But over the course of time, I would understand that. But at first, I felt like life had just given me a shit sandwich. This sucks, and now you're telling me I can't forget the past or wish to close the door on it. I don't want nothing more than that. I just want to shut this door, close it, forget it. And I've got a new life now in recovery. And I never knew that batch of lemons that, by the way, I gave myself,
Right.
How does that work? Your parents give you lemonade, you turn it into lemons.
Right.
And then you have the opportunity over the course of recovery to turn it back into lemonade. And that's exactly what happened in my recovery, because I never knew how I would feel once I got to have a sponsee sitting there and being able to tell them my past and hoping that they would use it in order to kind of relate to me and some of the antics that they had done and I had done in recovery in our drinking, in our active drinking. And wow, what a a really good thing. I guess I can't even put it into words. It was just a really good thing. So
we look at it at first as we can't do something, but I think it takes that extreme shock of doing something so different than we normally do. But I look at it now as a gift, and I go, I don't have to drink now. Like, maybe I don't feel perfect all the time, but when I'm being totally honest, I didn't feel real good when I was using either, and when I can play that through, most of that wasn't that good a feeling either. We're talking about a little bit of time that maybe I felt better for a minute, but the most part, it was worse than if I had just dealt with how I felt or acted up front to begin with. Yeah. And
ups and downs, definitely.
Yeah, but now it's such a gift, and I'm just so grateful for it that that's not my go-to now. and that promise of, I'm like, Mike, man, I was sitting in those things and they're like, I'm going, when's the one about the obsession? That's the one I'm worried about. When am I going to lose this? Because I was literally just trying to survive hour by hour and not go back to doing those things that I used to do. I didn't care about none of that other crap. I didn't care if I lived in a dumpster. I didn't care about any promise. I didn't care if I didn't have any friends. None of those other promises, the serenity, all these things. Nah, I didn't care. I just can't use today because I just came out of that and it was a nightmare. They did start to come true, but it took these things that we're talking about, going to these parties or not going to them, doing things different than we would normally do them. You know, you talk about going and that's the other family. Oh, you didn't come to the party, you know, and it's a drink-a-thon and grandma or your aunt or uncle's kind of guilt tripping you a little about, hey, you should have been there. Well, guess what? I'll be at the rest of them, but I may have to miss this one right now because it's that important, you know. And when you put it in the diabetes thing, you know, if he goes and eats that candy or he eats that stuff, it's going to cause him a lot of harm. It's going to cause us harm too. And so, you know, just keep that in the back of your mind. It's a serious deal.
And that's why, you know, I mentioned like boundaries earlier, and I can't stress that enough. I think a lot of people in early sobriety are scared to set boundaries. They don't want to because they are trying to keep the waters calm, you know, by being obedient. They don't want to upset anybody and say, hey, I'm not comfortable here. You know, and like I said, I didn't want to say anything, but I knew I couldn't sit I couldn't sit at that Thanksgiving because I was about to crawl out of my skin, and it just was like, Mom, I can't do this. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm really sorry, but like, I can't do this. And she knew. She was just like, I understand. Go back home.
Yeah.
Go do your thing. Because like I said, you know, we're people pleasers. A lot of us are. And we want to make sure Christmas is perfect. We're sober. We're trying to make up for lost time and make up for all the Christmases we may have wrecked or holidays we ruined. And we don't want to ruin another holiday with our family. But my sobriety is incredibly important. And like you said earlier, like, hey, if I miss it this time, guess what? I'm going to try again next year.
I was in treatment on Father's Day. Okay. When I was in treatment, and I had,
yeah, me too. One of them.
Here I've got 5 kids, right? And so it was Sunday, and all the guys are up and they're raising hell about, we can't use the phone on Sunday. We can't do this. Everybody's pissed. And I remember being pissed, and I went into my therapist and I said, my counselor, and I said, you know, you can't even use the phone on Father's Day. And she looked dead at me and said, you're a shitty father anyway. Oh. And I went, huh? And she goes, you're in a damn rehab on Father's Day. And I was like, oh, yeah. And she goes, maybe if you'll get this and do it, you'll have a lot of Father's Days coming up. But you didn't get this one. And I went, oh, yes, ma'am. And I went, please, sir, may I have another?
Right, like, okay.
But yeah,
but in your defense, you may have been in there to go be a better father.
True.
You know, so
true, but
calling you a shitty father probably wasn't going to win you over.
She was on the money on that deal.
Well,
because
and that's how a lot of substance abuse counselors are. They call it like it is. You just, if you're an alcoholic, I'm sure you weren't the greatest parent.
And and you look at, and you can say, well, it was you know, providing or doing things, but it could be things as attention with your kids, time spent with your kids. There's a lot of things that you can lump under that. And I mean, she hit it out of the park with me. You know, I didn't, as again, one of those things that we don't like hearing that ends up being the truth.
Yeah, and it just goes back to, like, you know, false pride and things like that. You've got to protect yourself, and you got to protect your sobriety.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's important.
Yeah. Be selfish with it, especially in the very beginning. You know,
absolutely. I still am. If I feel uncomfortable somewhere, guess what? I'm leaving.
Well, and you two guys are really good about setting boundaries. I mean, I can honestly say that. I mean, you know, I've known you guys long enough to know that some of your character assets are being able to set boundaries. And, you know, mine is not, I can't really set boundaries. That's a weakness of mine. I have a problem with it, but getting a hold of me may be a little tricky. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah.
Well, I couldn't get him, couldn't get a hold of Mike. So I don't know if he's got, you know, but, you know, and the thought of someone calling and saying, hey, we've got this picnic or outing or whatever you want to call it, with a whole group, that I just want to cringe at the thought.
Oh, I know you do.
Some people,
when you were talking about the get together, the Christmas get together,
some people like that, and they like that fellowship. The thought of it just makes me want to cringe. But for some reason they can say, "Hey, Mike, we need you to cook 72 dishes and show up at the Koala Club on Christmas Day." And I'll actually look forward to that.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm going to go be around people that are just like me. And that is not a statement I'm making just because I'm on air. I mean, I really do look forward to being around a group of sober alcoholics. I think it would just absolutely thrill me to death if I could figure out a way, and I can't. Not right now anyway, figure out a way to get back to New Orleans and maybe spend a whole day with my old recovery group down there, some of the folks that was there, just because, but the spending an average day with regular average people, I just don't, I'm not a social butterfly, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
And I sure as hell don't miss it.
So, and two, the party situation and the get-togethers and the functions and all the things that we have this time of year. Another thing that I've run into, and not that it's been a bad thing, it kind of makes me laugh a little. You get around this program, you start sponsoring a few people, you have a sponsor, you get out in life and you start doing better, and you do, work wise and friendship wise, you start to make friends, and you do all these things, and you do get involved in these things. But often, a lot of times, if I'm at somewhere, and I do this now anyway, if I go to an event and I'm not going to drink any alcohol, don't even think much about it, but I get a bottle of water. I don't get a glass of Coke or Dr. Pepper or whatever, Mountain Dew, like a drink, because I don't want someone maybe that just sees me in passing to go, "Oh, I saw that dude at the meeting the other day." And,
with a drink.
Yeah. And look at him standing over there with these guys. And I know that sounds weird, but it's just my
They really are faking it.
Yeah. And I will, if it's something I have to be, and I will stand there with a bottle of water in my hand. And I do actually get asked, "Hey, you want me to get you a drink?" And that brings that on a little more, but I'm okay with that, because I can say, no, thank you. And you would be surprised how many people you bump into that maybe hadn't come in the rooms yet, but they've tested the waters, and you bump into them out somewhere and they go, "Hey man," and you're doing what you're supposed to do, and, that for me has been something that it's almost like a checks and balances that AA just kind of eased in there that I didn't know about, at first. But
I think another thing we need to do is remember that we don't have to say yes to everything, and run it by our sponsor before we do anything. And it doesn't have to be a permission thing. "Hey, Joe, can I have your permission to go to the company Christmas party at the brewery down the road?" You can say, "Hey, Joe, this is what's going on. What do you think?" And most of the time they're going to tell you, how do you feel? How do you feel about it? Tell me. They're going to make you think, as opposed to letting it be their responsibility. But it's not like you're doing any of this alone. Oh my God, it's all up to me to figure out whether or not the truth is, all three of us have been in recovery. We've been in recovery for a while. We've managed to stay sober for quite some time, one day at a time. And we can all say that better days really are coming. And it isn't just something that people talk about in the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous. The things that interest us when we got in the rooms probably don't interest us now. There's a maturing process, both spiritually and physically. There's a decision-making process that as we get older and as we get more sobriety, recovery, that decision-making process gets better. We make better decisions. And really, for me anyway, what is life but just a group of decisions that I've made over the course of the past 51 years, And the best decision I could ever make is getting into Alcoholics Anonymous and kind of letting that first couple of years be devoted to me and recovery.
Yeah.
And so I felt like at the times, in my early recovery, I might have been neglecting my children, not spending enough time with my children, not spending enough time. But now here it is. I'm down the road and I'm spending a whole bunch of time with all of them. And not to mention when things aren't the way they should be and things that happen the way they happen. And I don't want to say bad, but things come along that are not favorable. We're still there. where, hey, I'm still here. I'm still a dad. I'm a dad, and I get to be a dad, and I don't have to worry about alcohol. Is not something we talk about anymore. I'd say for the first 8 years, me and my son, maybe 9, and he's in recovery as well. But for the first 8 or 9 years of my recovery, somehow we would be on an outing and AA or alcohol or something would come up, and we would talk about it. And, we went to Alaska 8 weeks ago, 7 weeks ago. We was up there, and that trip was a fly-by-night trip, really quick, and we spent a lot of time in the car together, and we never once, alcohol was just never even a conversation piece. It just kind of, it wasn't even
Probably
something,
even a thought.
wasn't even something Dad used to do, Now, I will say this, the thought did come across my mind. I wonder how the hell they go to AA meetings out here, because it's 7 degrees, and
Same way we do.
I wouldn't want to walk out the front door. It's one of those, you get out of your car and all the hair in your nose freezes.
I'm out.
And if you don't have hair in your nose, the first little part of your brain up in there starts to freeze. It's brutally cold.
Yeah, I can't deal with that, man. I can't deal with that. Yeah, it is so awesome in life today. And you know what, man? If you guys need any reminder on, I'm feeling sorry for myself on Christmas that I can't be around these folks, or I can't drink, or I can't do whatever I do.
And by the way, that's normal.
And that is normal. But just to put it in perspective, my brother did this with me early in recovery. I was kind of moping about some things like that, just, and he said, hey, come take a ride with me. And we rode down to the courthouse in Shreveport. And there's a lot of folks down there that just live on those streets. And they don't got a family for Christmas, and they don't have a coat for Christmas. They don't have food for Christmas, nor do they any other day of the year. And I remember thinking, yeah, I'm all right. Not a big deal. And get around some things like that, and you start to learn gratitude. And it's bigger than us. Those little things can totally change our attitude and our mindset of when I get to, it doesn't take me long when I get to feeling that self-pity crap going in my head. Yeah. Take a ride down there where some folks really got some problems,
Yeah.
So,
if you feel like that first, you got to miss this first Mardi Gras parade, or this second Mardi Gras parade, or this first company Christmas party, and you feel like you're sacrificing something. We actually do have to sacrifice stuff. Don't think of it as a sacrifice. It's an investment in you, and it's an investment in your future, and definitely not something that you'll even think about whenever you have recovery. And full-blown recovery's kicked in.
And I promise you, some of those things you close the door on that you have to close the door on, there's going to be other ones that open that are cool too, that you don't know are there yet.
A really good example I can think about in recovery is I have a sponsee, or I call him a guy I work with. His name is Roger, and he's been on the show. He told his story. But, this cat, ever since he got sober, man, he's gone to like concerts on Saturday nights. The one that sticks out, of course, is Air Supply, because that's just weird. But he went and seen, like, I want to say it was Foreigner or Boston, or
he's an animal, man. He is constantly going to concerts.
Yeah, and he doesn't drink. He's completely sober. I've been working with him since about probably a year before he got sober. So, but man, and now he's out there. He enjoys life. He enjoys the things life has to offer. He doesn't call me and say, hey, Mike, they were selling beer here and I didn't know what. He did none of that. He can actually tell me what happened. Of course, when you're going to a concert and most of the guys are in their 80s, I mean, there's not a whole lot of action going on, but he gets excited about this stuff. And, and I've been to several events, concerts since I've been sober. I even went and seen Motley Crue on one of their 20th farewell tours, when they were here in Bossier City, completely sober. Now, somebody bought me a Monster, an energy drink, and they put it in a cup, a big tall glass and clear glass, and Monster in a cup looks like beer, to be quite honest with you. So I've kind of felt weird standing there holding this monster in a clear cup, thinking, man, I hope nobody sees me thinking I'm drinking a beer. You know, I've gone to several.
Speaking of Motley Crue, Nikki Sixx is 23 years of sobriety.
That's
this week.
amazing.
Oh, that's awesome.
That is amazing. Talk about giving up some stuff.
Oh,
Right.
Being
man.
sober, man.
Man,
That, you know, several of those guys, you know, Eminem, he's about the same amount of recovery as me. You know, he has maybe a year, maybe he's about your recovery length. You know,
Okay.
But, hey, these guys out there that, especially then they're in the limelight and live these fast-paced lives. You know, how they find recovery and stick with recovery for 23 years.
23 years.
You know, then there's a lot to be said for that. It
Yeah,
really is.
for sure.
You know? I'm just a regular dude, you know, so it's hard enough.
There's
for a
got to be
regular dude.
extra. Yeah, I read something about Eminem, so this isn't blasting him or anything like that, or outing him, but he had problems in Alcoholics Anonymous because people wouldn't leave him alone. He
I could
went to
imagine.
meetings.
I could imagine.
And I felt bad. I was just like, you know, I get that it's a famous guy, but at the same time, that's not what we're there for.
Yeah.
And he said he called Elton John
Yeah.
and was like, hey man, like what's going on? And they kind of clicked together and it's been successful for them.
And I've been in meetings with famous people as well. And I can tell you this, people sometimes do not respect that factor that when we walk in the room, my name is Mike. It's not anything but, you know, it's not Magic Mike. It's just regular old Mike.
Is that the name you gave yourself?
No, that's the name someone gave me.
It's the name of a movie. I'm just saying.
I know they gave
Yeah.
it to me right after the movie came out, but some people don't respect that. I can only imagine that how tough that is.
I was disappointed to hear that too, man, because like this is life or death, you know. And I mean, who?
But
you
what
know,
did he do? He picked up the phone and
he
called
figured it out.
another
Yeah,
alcoholic.
Yeah, he figured it out.
And that's the thing. We're all one phone call away from a sponsor, a friend, and someone that we can talk to if we're uncomfortable or struggling.
What I admire the most, he didn't pick up the phone and call a PR guy. You know, he didn't have one of his folks run out and find somebody to come counsel.
Go get me an alcoholic now.
He picked up the phone and called an alcoholic. Now, I probably won't be calling Elton or Eminem when I leave here today, but I know that if I'm in a dilemma, I can pick up the phone and call another alcoholic. And the same goes for the holiday season. The same goes for any other thing in life. Or hell, if you just want to pick up the phone and call another alcoholic and see what's going on.
Well, and for newcomers, that's why it's so important to get people's numbers.
Sure.
I didn't understand the importance of that when my sponsor told me to go get 5 women's numbers, because I was like, yeah, okay, that's why. So you have people to contact, people
who've
to
lived it.
Exactly.
And there's in probably every AA clubhouse in the world, there's people that smoke cigarettes, and you can walk outside after a meeting, and there's going to be 10 to 20 alcoholics standing out there having a smoke. That's a great place to meet people and just say, hey, I'm so-and-so, and get a phone number from somebody. I promise you, I've drove up on the Koala Club and people were sitting in the chair waiting to get in a meeting just because it was that kind of a weird feeling and they didn't know where else to go.
Yeah.
We just make it work, you know?
Wow.
Make it work.
Guys, we've had a really good episode. I do appreciate it. I got to send another blast out, and happy birthday, Larry. Congratulations on 13 years of recovery. That is amazing.
It sure is.
We
And a
love
good-
you, and we love Judy. We loved having you on the show. We love hearing about your recovery and keeping in contact with you. We want to remind our listeners we are on YouTube, and somehow or another, Matt's going to figure out the landing page so that he can link that to his Facebook, his Instagram,
yeah.
so that you can get it on YouTube as well. We still have grouchinthebrainstorm.com. It's still an active website. My daughter keeps up with it. She'll probably have a link on there by the time this airs, if she doesn't already have one. I have not had a chance to check it. But we do appreciate all the listeners. We hope everyone has a great holiday season and comes out of it with the same sobriety date, and maybe even a little bit of being able to help others during these times when that's what it's really all about.
Mm-hmm.
So we have been at Rule 62 Studios in Bossier City, Louisiana, and we have been the Grouch and the Brainstorm.